Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. So in this episode I only have a few games to add. It's not a big episode full of content, but these were some really cool pickups I got. Some of them were gifts for Christmas that I received. So Christmas gifts adding to the PlayStation collection was pretty cool. And then a couple other ones were from local video game store, Voltage Video Games. One of them they had on hold for me, and then when I went there I saw two others. I was like, ooh, I've been looking for those for a long time. So stick around, I'll show you what I got. Okay, so the Christmas gifts that I got that go towards the PlayStation Pursuit, they both came from my very good friends, Kate and Pat. They're both from River City Retro. I've talked about my friend Pat Milligan before, but Kate Smith is also a very good friend of mine, and she is the gears that keep River City Retro in motion when Pat's slacking. So these are gifts that they gave me. Very, very kind of them to keep these aside for me when they came upon them. And he has a copy of my list. I sent it to Pat, so they were able to refer to that to see if there were some games that I needed, and sure enough, I needed these all. So the first one, this is definitely the best of the pile, is My Disney Kitchen. I mean, that's just gotta be a winner. Might be actually a cute little educational game, or game geared towards girls, even though that's a little outdated at this time, because who's to say a guy would not enjoy a kitchen game, and who's to say that a girl doesn't want to play Resident Evil, So, but this was back in the 90s. Anyway, the next one I have is Robo Pit 2, and looks like it might be from the Value line of games, because it has that bar along the bottom that I've seen before. Never played that one. It looks like a Rock'em Sock'em Robots meets Armored Core or something like that. The Army Men series, lots of games in that series. I've had a few on past episodes. And this is Army Men Green Rogue. Maybe a lone wolf agent. He definitely has like a face, looks like somebody from Killer Instinct or something. But never played that one, so I'm looking forward to see if it's any good. And then, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is the best game from the pile that I got. Play with the Teletubbies. I'm sure there's a lot of hardcore gaming action in there. Only the elitist of gamers play games like this, so glad to add that one to the collection. This is not the main game in this series on PlayStation, but kind of like an offshoot one. It's Digimon Digital Monsters Rumble Arena. So I've never played this one. I don't know if it's almost like a Pokemon Stadium, but with Digimon Stadium. That's the AKA. If it's play similar, that's what I'll call it. Not a Digimon Stadium. So pretty cool to have that. And then these last two are a couple licensed games. It's one of those things where they might be good, they might be bad. You never know, because licensed games can go both ways. Usually bad, but I'm excited to try both of them out. Tom and Jerry in House Trap was the first one. And then The Grinch. So this is based, I think, around the time the Jim Carrey movie came out, but it's not. It looks kind of like a blend of the cartoon and the live action, so somewhere in between. But and these two I actually forgot. These last two I actually purchased from Pat, so these weren't part of the gifts. But once again, they were kind enough to keep these aside for me. But the rest of them were gifts, along with some other stuff they got me too that isn't PlayStation 1 related, so I didn't talk about it here. So thank you so much, guys, for those. That was really awesome to receive some PlayStation games for Christmas, so I'm really excited. As you can see, I finally put the games that were over here. For the longest time I put them away, so it's a little more organized in here, and putting them on the shelf made me go, ooh, it's definitely growing. So that's the first half of the episode. I'm going to do a couple PlayStation favorites once again, back at it, and then I'll be back with the remainder of my pickups after that. Okay, so the first PlayStation favorite I want to talk about is a licensed game, not based off of a particular movie or show, but a character. And I really enjoy this game. It's when I was a kid, this was one of my favorite cartoon characters, so that might be a bias I have. But he's also been in other games that have actually been really good in the past. And this one is Donald Duck Going Quackers. And the best way I could describe this game is it's basically a Crash Bandicoot clone. So it plays very similar to Crash Bandicoot. The way you move through the levels, it's like this 3D, but kind of on a 2D plane, kind of like Crash Bandicoot, where you go through like lanes, either sideways or front to back. And this got a port on Dreamcast, so if you want like the cleanest image version, there's that. There's an N64 version, which is a little cleaner but blurrier. And then I like this one just because I have a place in my heart for PlayStation graphics. It looks like a really good game for the system. It's like the Dreamcast one has better graphics, but this one is more impressive in relation to the hardware limitations, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it looks really good. It's cool because I like not just Donald Duck's character, but I like, DuckTales and the whole Disney Duck universe that's been in like the Scrooge McDuck comics and stuff. And it's cool because this is like takes place in that type of a world. So you see a lot of the same villains that you see from those and everything. So I really like it from the story perspective and everything. It has a lot of familiar, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, his nephews and everything. So pretty cool in that regard. And then, like I said, it plays pretty solid. It's like a Crash Bandicoot. There's a couple timed missions that are kind of weird, and if you want to go for full collectibles, there's probably some cheap levels and stuff, but just as a nice fun playthrough, I really enjoyed this game. So wanted to call that one out. It seems like I have a lot of Disney games on the PlayStation favorites, but I think that's because I've mentioned before, I think PlayStation is a little underrated when it comes to Disney releases because of how many good ones there were on Genesis, Super Nintendo, and then on Nintendo. It's good to see that PlayStation got some good Disney games as well. And it's not a PlayStation game, but the Game Boy Color version of Donald Duck Going Quackers is really good because it doesn't play like Crash Bandicoot. It actually plays like the old Disney games that I mentioned earlier from the Genesis era or something like that. It kind of reminds me of like Quackshot or Castle of Illusion or something like that. So definitely check out that one as well. But if you want a Crash Bandicoot style game, you can't go much farther than here. Okay, the next PlayStation favorite I want to talk about is a pretty heavy hitter for the system. It's gone up in price, and a lot of people already are aware of this title being one of the hot items on the PlayStation, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it myself, so I'm going to right now. This game I hold very close to my heart, not as much as Tomba, which I've talked about before, but it's another one of those great 2D and 3D mixture kind of games, and it is Klonoa Door to Phantom Isle. So, if you haven't played this game before, it's a really solid, if not a bit generic, but very solid 2D platformer with three-dimensional backgrounds and sprite-based characters and your character model. It's got super colorful graphics. They remade it for the Wii, and it's a pretty decent remake, but even with the cleaner graphics of the Wii, the assets from this lower resolution PlayStation version just look better to me. The colors pop more, and the controls were really tight. They really worked well on the PlayStation. So I think the level design was fantastic, and the main mechanic in this game allowed for some really fun platforming where you could kind of lift yourself up. I don't know, you have to play the game to really see what I'm talking about the way it feels, but whereas some platformers have double jump or a spin jump to give you a little more air, this game uses its own mechanics to give you that kind of creative control as well in your gameplay. So really cool game. Like I said, it's going up in price. I was very lucky to actually get this as a gift a couple of years back, so really cool to have this. But I wanted to definitely talk about this one. And there's a very solid sequel for PS2 as well that's not quite as pricey as this one. So if you do like this game, I definitely recommend playing that. And, the remake for Wii is still fun. It's still, it's got a couple extra things and stuff that were in this. So it's definitely worth playing that as well. But Klonoa is definitely like a top PlayStation two-dimensional game. And I think, it's one of those games that also didn't get the success they maybe hoped for because the PlayStation era was all about new 3D. And though a lot of people do love this game to this day, Klonoa didn't sell as well as some of the other mascot games like Spyro and Crash. So I think being 2D kind of was like that. But, some of my favorites in the system are still 2D, this and Tomba. So definitely check this game out if you want some high-end platforming 2D gameplay. And it might be on PlayStation Network for the Vita and PS3. So if that's an option, a cheaper option for you to play digitally, definitely go for it there. Okay, so the last three games that I have, like I mentioned before, are from Voltage Video Games. The first one I'm going to show is the one that they actually had on hold for me because I can't remember who it was who worked there. It wasn't my friend Alex, who I've mentioned many times before. It was one of the other coworkers there. I think it was Steve who works there. He mentioned that they had some pretty high-end PS1 games come in, and he said, I'm pretty sure there's some Working Designs titles in there. And this may be the last Working Designs title I need for PlayStation, but there might be at least one more that I'm not remembering. But either way, Working Designs, I may have mentioned it before when I talked about Alundra. They're a fantastic publisher. I wish they were still around. And they just put out some really cool Japanese-styled games that, don't come out as frequent nowadays. JRPGs, anime-based games. But they also had some really cool, unique ideas, and this is one of them. The game is called Vanguard Bandits, and as you can see, it's got a really sweet holographic cover in traditional Working Designs fashion. Great artwork in the packaging, and it's even got like a embossed manual with some holographic shininess to it on the character and the words as well. And then it has a Lunar 2 demo disc, which I already have Lunar 2, but pretty cool to have that in there. So it's complete in fantastic shape. And this is like a JRPG that has like a medieval style and mechs, so it's very unique. It stands out from the pack. It's not just another medieval one. But it's different. It's not like Final Fantasy's use of blending technology and medieval fantasy. So it's definitely got a unique feel of its own. Looking forward to diving deep into this one. I've never played it, but I've seen it played before, and it looks really cool. So glad to get that one. So that was the one they had on hold for me, and I was like super excited to get it. Then when I went there, I saw a couple more, and I didn't want to spend the money, but they were both priced really well, so I couldn't say no. And now I have them these ones down. So the first one is in a super popular series, especially in Japan, but it's Dragon Warrior 7, which I believe was just re-released with some upgrades for the 3DS, but I always wanted this original one, and it's a JRPG that is very solid, and it was super popular in Japan. But over here, because of the success of Final Fantasy and Chrono Cross and Legend of Dragoon that did more like 3D and pre-rendered backgrounds, this one, which has 3D graphics with 2D character sprites, didn't fare as well because I don't think it wowed people as much. But it's still a solid game, and definitely a very good entry in the Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest series, depending on where you play it. So definitely glad to get that one. It was a good price, like I mentioned, and it was one I didn't have that I've had an opportunity to get a couple times, but this was cheaper than I've ever seen it. So glad to get that one. And then this last one I was really excited to get because I've seen this once out in the wild. It was before I was collecting for PlayStation, and it's Shoot 'em Up, which I've mentioned I really enjoy shooters. And I've played this series before, but I never played this entry. And the game is G Darius. It's the Darius franchise, if you've never played, has fish-based enemy robots, so they look like giant fish or piranhas or whales or eels or crabs. It's very like water-based. You'll see a lot of water backgrounds and underwater parts and beaches and all that stuff. So it's got a really cool style, very colorful, lots of blue skies and everything. So I always like that about the series. And this one I've never played. I don't know if it's the same as Darius Gaiden on Saturn, as just the PlayStation version, or if it's a totally different one. I don't know, because I've never played either of them. But very excited to get this because of how uncommon it is. I don't see it at cons or anything either, so maybe like once or twice I've seen it. But to find it in my local Voltage video games was super awesome. So really cool to get that one. Alright, so that's all of the games for this episode. Like I said, a little smaller pickups, but very excited to get those Christmas gifts and then some of my most wanteds out of the way. So really cool. I'm going to do some tallying right now, and when I come back, we'll see where I'm at so far. Okay, another 10 group of games out of the way. I am now up to 630 PlayStation 1 games, so pretty cool there. Thanks again to Kate and Pat for the gifts, and thanks again to the guys at Voltage who always do a good job there. And I was glad to add all those games this week. So thanks again for watching. I always appreciate the support and any comments, interaction on either Facebook, YouTube, or VidMe. I really appreciate that as well. So thanks to everybody who watches and keeps me going at this. I really appreciate it. So, and there will be more episodes soon. I don't know when I'm going to be getting more PlayStation games. I'm now caught up on ones that I've gotten, so the hunt has to continue. So if there's not episodes as frequently as I'd like, they will be coming eventually, I promise. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.